Gang, we've got a huge game changer in the realm of big tech. A federal court has upheld a Texas ban on big tech censorship that will end up applying to all 50 states. We're going to take a look at this extraordinary victory for free speech. We're going to see how the woke left is having a collective meltdown over it. And make sure to stick with me at the very end of this video when I'll reveal how the end of cancel culture on social media is just the beginning. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. It's me, Dr. Steve, your uncensored patriot professor, here to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and in turbulent times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we begin, make sure to click on that link below and head on over to my special website for the Ready Project food supply. We all know that we can't wait for emergencies to happen before we respond to one. And no one, and I mean absolutely no one, makes preparing for an emergency more ridiculously easy and affordable than our good friends over at the Ready Project Food Supply. Gang, they're simply the best. They're one of us. They're patriots. Their food kits last up to 25 years in storage. They include breakfast, lunches, and dinners. And if you act right now, you're going to save 25% off a full 4-week emergency supply when you click on that link below to my special website. So whatever you do, don't wait. I got my emergency food supply. Make sure you get yours. Click on that link below or go to getreadywithsteve.com. Save 25% off your very own 4-week emergency food supply today. All right, let's dive right in here, gang. We have an amazing ruling that just came out of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals that promises to be a total, absolute game changer in the realm of big tech. The U.S. Court of Appeals, Fifth Circuit, has just upheld a Texas social media law that prohibits big tech social media outlets from discriminating against a user's political ideology. According to this law, it is now illegal. It is illegal for social media platforms with 50 million or more users to engage in what's called viewpoint discrimination, which we more commonly simply know as online censorship, right? Cancel culture. You know, the very censorship that the corrupt FBI was requiring with the Hunter Biden laptop, right? Now, originally, this Texas law was struck down by a lower court, but now it's been upheld by the Fifth Circuit, and it's therefore on its way to the Supreme Court, where it should find a relatively receptive majority upholding it. So the gist of the law is actually really quite fascinating. What this Texas law does is it explicitly bars social media outlets like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube from engaging in any viewpoint discrimination practices whatsoever. So they can no longer demonetize, they can't deplatform, they can't cancel, they can't shadow ban, they can't put a channel in a disadvantageous position in terms of search results. If you have 50 million or more users, you are officially designated a Section 230 utility, which means you are no more allowed to discriminate against someone's political viewpoints than is the phone company or the electric company. The electric company can't turn off your lights or your gas because they don't like your political viewpoints. It's the same thing here. Yes, these are private companies, but they are also utilities. They are the communication networks for the modern public square, and as such, they are no more allowed to censor your political opinions than AT&T is. Now, of course, this doesn't include content that's already illegal. That's the key. If content is illegal according to the law of the land, well, then, of course, it could be legally censored. So we're talking pornography, public lewdness, direct incitement, calls for violence, unlawful conduct. Basically, it's the same rules as the FCC, the very ones that govern our talk radio and our television. We could talk about pretty much anything on talk radio, but we can't threaten, we can't engage in pornographic lewdness and the like. So that said, what we have to understand is this law is a major game changer. This is huge. Presuming, of course, the Supreme Court upholds it, which they should, at least with a 5-4 majority decision. In fact, the decision was actually penned by a former Alito clerk who's with the Fifth Circuit now. But this is a game changer because you don't have to be in Texas to benefit from it. If big tech censors you as a content creator, no matter where you are, that affects the citizens of Texas. That content creator has been, for all practical purposes, censored, right, from the citizens of Texas. And therefore, the law against censorship ends up equally applying for everyone. And that's only going to intensify now that Florida and other states are passing similar laws. Again, this really changes everything. And if you really want to know the significance of what just happened in the Fifth Court, all you got to do is look at what ultra-leftist sites like Vox, right? That's Vox with a V, by the way, not Fox, Vox. Look at what they're saying about it. Look at this ridiculous headline. 2 Republican judges just let Texas seize control of Twitter and Facebook. And then the byline reads, the Fifth Circuit wants to put Texas Republicans in charge of social media platforms. That's how they're spinning this. That's how they're gaslighting this. This is a very profound, well-reasoned, thought-out, historically informed verdict. And all woke leftists at Vox can do is try to poison it and partisanize it. What else are they going to do? When in the end, all you're trying to do is defend censorship, defend the shutting down of speech that you personally find politically offensive because you're so neurotic and petty and woke, then you have no other choice than to dig into the manure of resentment politics and try to pull your version of bumbling Biden's Moloch speech. It's the Republicans who are trying to control your speech, not us, even though we're the ones who actually are trying to censor you. No. Right? In the warped world of woke leftists, they're always the narcissistic hero. Or take a look at the wackos over at the ultra-left Daily Kos. Fifth Circuit rewrites First Amendment for large social media companies. Yeah, that's right. A court that calls out the left-wing absurdity of claiming that censorship is free speech is rewriting the very amendment that gives us the right to speak. Are you noticing a pattern here with these leftists? These leftist outlets disguised as news sites are actually trying to make the argument that censorship is freedom of speech. I mean, you're going to have to let the world of woke leftism hit you. It's a world that is nothing more than a performative contradiction. Woke activists actually believe that censorship is free speech. The act of shutting down speech is itself an expression of the freedom of speech when it comes to these so privately owned big tech oligarchs. That's the kind of absurdity, the kind of square circle that the modern left has morphed into. Again, keep in mind, this is why so many who consider themselves liberals are aghast at this stuff. I mean, we could go down the list. Bill Maher, right? Piers Morgan, Dave Rubin. In fact, Jordan Peterson 5 years ago would have described himself as center left. So many in the left are repulsed by this woke absurdity, this woke nonsensical idiocy that girds itself with preposterous, logically tortured arguments to justify what is in effect a contradiction in terms. Now that said, let me show you what they're really frothing at the mouth about. Taking away from them their oh so precious cancel culture is bad enough. But the woke left recognizes that this is actually symptomatic of something much bigger and far more sinister from their vantage point. But first, for you podcast fans, we recently launched our brand new Turley Talks podcast, and we've actually made it to the 14th most downloaded podcast for American news on Apple Podcasts. But you can actually help us become number one by simply clicking on the link below and subscribing to my podcast. You can listen on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, you name it, every day. You can take my analysis with you anywhere you go. So make sure to click on that link below and subscribe to download my podcast, and let's make it to number one together. All right, gang. So what the left is increasingly recognizing, to their utter horror, is that this latest decision from the Fifth Circuit actually stems from President Trump's astonishing renovation of the federal court system, of which the Fifth Circuit is one of his many crowning achievements. We've got to remember, and I've argued this a number of times over the last few years, I've done several videos on this, the longest lasting legacy of the Trump presidency will be the astonishing transformation he brought to the federal courts. When Trump took office, the one thing that Mitch McConnell did as Senate leader, the one thing he did right, was he had, over the previous 2 years, put a halt to all Obama-appointed federal judges. It was pretty bold and unprecedented, but he used his parliamentary skills, as it were, to end Obama's capacity to fill federal judicial seats. So when Trump took office, he in turn began appointing more judges than any of his predecessors. If I recall, I think it was something like halfway through his first term, he had already appointed more judges than his last 4 predecessors combined. So today, as we speak, a third of all active federal judges in the U.S. Appeals Court have been appointed by President Trump. And of course, the 6-3 conservative majority on the Supreme Court that overturned Roe v. Wade, that's clearly his crowning achievement of that judicial transformation. That is what all these leftist ideologues are really freaked out about. Taking away their precious big tech censorship is one thing. Transforming the nation into a judiciary that is faithful to the Federalist vision of our founding fathers, that's a whole nother thing entirely. That is what is ultimately going to unravel the left, which means that the overturning of Roe and this latest ruling restoring free speech to social media is just the beginning. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You will definitely want to check out my latest video on Democrats panicking as blue states are flipping red and MAGA candidates are surging. It's going to make your day, so make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.